Hey everyone, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Um, my name is Matt Parker, and I am the current president of the United States Aquaculture Society, which is a chapter of the World Aquaculture Society. I'd like to welcome everyone to our United States Aquaculture Economic Recovery through Aquaculture webinar. This webinar is being sponsored by the United States Aquaculture Society, the National Aquaculture Association, and the American Fisheries Society Fish Culture Section, the Catfish Farmers of America, Soy Aquaculture Alliance, and the Nature Conservancy. Before we get into our meeting, there's a few housekeeping issues. These presentations are being recorded. If you do not consent to potentially being recorded in the webinar, now is your opportunity to exit the webinar. I don't believe that anyone's cameras will be shown except for the panelists, so that shouldn't be an issue. Please address all questions to the moderator through the question box. I'll be moderating questions and we'll ask them to the panelists at the end of their presentations. And also we'll have time at the very end of the webinar to ask a few more questions. After a few remarks, I have a short video to show to get started. So here goes. This webinar will hopefully build upon the in-person meeting the U.S. Aquaculture Society hosted in Washington, D.C. in the fall of 2019. The purpose of the webinar is to provide an educational opportunity for congressional members, their staffs, and other aquaculture decision makers with an update on the economic potential for U.S. aquaculture. We will hear the status of the National Aquaculture Economic Development Plan, as well as hear how aquaculture development plans have worked in Norway and Canada. We will also hear about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the U.S. aquaculture industry. And finally, we'll hear about opportunities for continued growth in the U.S. aquaculture industry. My colleague, Jimmy Avery, who is president of the World Aquaculture Society, recently shared the following facts as the World Aquaculture Society joined 111 other aquatic scientific societies representing over 80,000 scientists as a signatory to the American Fisheries Society Statement of World Aquatic Scientific Societies on the need to take urgent action against human-caused climate change. According to the latest worldwide statistics compiled by the FAO, aquaculture accounted for 46% of global fish and seafood production and 52% of fish and seafood for human consumption in 2018. This production occurs in both inland freshwater systems and marine environments and employs about 21 million people. According to the latest data available by NOAA, the U.S. aquaculture industry has a value of $1.5 billion and produced 626 million pounds of aquaculture seafood products in 2018. This represents 21% of the U.S. seafood production and fisheries products by value and placed the U.S. 17th in global aquaculture production. Similarly, the USDA 2018 Census of Aquaculture reported $1.5 billion in sales. The largest component of U.S. aquaculture production sales is food fish, which 81% comes from inland freshwater systems. Mollusks account for 29% of the U.S. aquaculture sales. This closely follows the 2018 UN Food and Agriculture Organization statistics showing U.S. inland production of finfish accounted for 41% of total aquaculture production in live weight, and marine coastal production of mollusks accounted for 39%. NOAA indicates that by weight, 90% of the seafood consumed in the U.S. comes from abroad, and the seafood trade deficit was $16.8 billion in 2017. Earlier this year in 2020, President Trump signed the executive order on seafood competitiveness, which recognized the importance of aquaculture in addition to fisheries for meeting domestic seafood demand. The mandate to update the National Aquaculture Development Plan comes from the executive order. In addition to other requirements aimed at improving regulatory efficiency, establishing aquaculture opportunity areas, establishing a seafood trade task force, and developing new aquatic animal health plan. Actions to implement the executive order have already been seen as NOAA has announced aquaculture opportunity areas in the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of Southern California. In 2019, Lipton et al., as part of NOAA, published a technical report entitled an approach to determining economic impacts of U.S. aquaculture. The report contained case studies of freshwater and marine aquaculture species. While data on freshwater production was limited due to availability, the report captured 95% of the U.S. marine aquaculture production. Using the assumptions in that study, the total economic impact of the U.S. marine aquaculture industry in 2015 to the entire U.S. economy was over $5.1 billion, and through direct, indirect, and induced effects, impacted over 53,000 U.S. jobs. The NOAA National Marine Fisheries Office of Aquaculture suggests there could be an increase in U.S. marine aquaculture of 2.5 times the 2015 level by 2025. If this goal were realized, the economic impact of the U.S. marine aquaculture industry would increase to over $12.7 billion, resulting in over 133,000 jobs. The U.S. aquaculture industry is primarily made up of small family farms, often in rural areas. In certain counties of the U.S., they are significant contributors to the local economy. For example, Dr. Van Sinten, who we'll hear later on the impacts of COVID-19, has estimated the economic impact of the Arkansas sport and bait fish production industries, located primarily in 3 counties of Arkansas, to contribute $72 million to the state of Arkansas and $158 million to the U.S. economy based just on on-farm expenditures. So to highlight these family farms, we have a short video for you to watch. I'll start it in just a second, and it will run about 5 minutes.
I'm Chris McGlon, a catfish farmer in Morgan City, Mississippi. This industry is great for a family. From my wife to my kids, I mean, we're all involved. We don't have any employees. You know, we do everything here ourselves.
My wife, Julie's a 5th generation farmer. I'm a 6th generation farmer. Rice has been in our blood as long as we can remember.
My name is Jamie Anderson from Lone Oak, Arkansas. We're bait fish farmers, and my family has operated this bait fish farm since 1949. That's 70 years.
My name's Jennifer, and this is my brother William. We are 3rd generation aquaculture farmers in DeVos Bluff, Arkansas.
We do have our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation right now that are working on the farm, and we are selling to our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generation customers.
The constant ideal water temperatures, the velocity of water that flows through our farms, the care we take when handling our fish, every aspect of the rearing process is constantly scrutinized, and nothing is taken for granted.
Here on our farm, you know, we really stress our water quality and make sure that our water is filtered naturally through a raceway system. We have a 26-inch auger that pumps about 10,000 gallons per minute. You know, we have a wastewater cell that's normally about 80% of the pond, and then we have a holding area that holds this 20% that actually holds the fish. And we're naturally just circulating water, you know, this actually filtering the water in the pond naturally.
As farmers, we're the ultimate environmentalists, and you know, we just want to leave this land better than it was for the next generation. We can hold shallow floods like in this field right here and really support a lot of the migratory birds. At the end of a crawfish season, it's been told to me that there's 146 different migratory birds, and we will hold this water after we're finished trapping crawfish. We'll release it and we'll dump it into a ditch, and then we have pumps, relief pumps in that same ditch. We're going to take all that water that just left that crawfish pond and we'll replace it onto a future crawfish pond or another rice field downstream. So we're trying to recycle as much of this water as we can, and I think that we're really getting close to 60 to 70% recycling.
The more efficient an animal is in converting grain or feed products into protein, the better it is for the environment, the better it is for all of us. It's less land taken up by farming that could be used for other things.
There are a lot of reasons to support oyster aquaculture from an economic standpoint and from an environmental standpoint. I mean, the larger the oyster aquaculture industry gets, the more beneficial the impact on the environment we're going to have. You know, we've done a really good job of choosing ways to grow oysters in such a way that you wouldn't really notice that we're even here. And that's, I think, the goal.
With the crop valued at over $200 million, crawfish is really huge to the local economy. If you use the agricultural number of multiplier of 7 as a crop that provides back, I mean, you're looking at over $1 billion worth of value. We're buying fuel for pumping, we're buying boats, we're buying traps, we're buying bait. All that money goes back into the local economy. We're hiring as many locals as we can.
My name's Carl Herring, president of Herring Catfish, and we're located in Wisner, Louisiana. Well, we employ about 175 people in the whole operation. There's about 130 in the processing plant. And then we have our own trucking company, which we have about a dozen truck drivers, and have a feed mill. We manufacture our own feed. And so it has a pretty good impact because all the goods that we buy, we try to buy as locally as we can from Northeast Louisiana. Our boxes, all our supplies, our bags, everything we can. So it has an impact. Of course, the salaries we have has an impact on the town.
It is a family farm, and we did grow up here. We did work here. We helped build all of these ponds after my grandfather and my dad started working that. We did that together as siblings, and this is a very important heritage for us. We love how we grew up. We learned how to work hard, but we also learned how to love hard.
Okay, so that was our short video, and as you can see, the U.S. aquaculture industry is diverse and made up of a lot of hardworking individuals who produce a lot of excellent projects.